All right, well, we're live, I think. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Everything's all screwing up. The old other laptop messed up. And now we're on an older one, and everything's screwing up. We're not getting stats or comments or anything coming through on OBS here. So if you guys are on here, we won't really know. So if you are, hey, how's it going? Anyways, bang dang, back gang. As you can see on the screen, DB Cooper.
DB Cooper.
DB Cooper, the most famous hijacker in American history, maybe ever the most famous unsolved case in American history. So, will he ever be found out? I don't know.
Oh, I think he's still alive?
Well, not now.
You never know.
In 1971, I highly doubt he was in his 40s probably back then. So 50, I mean, maybe it could be 90 something, I guess, if you want to go there, but highly unlikely. But got away with $200,000 if he did. And
that's it.
A lot of money in 1971. Lots of money. DB Cooper. Do you think we'll ever find out who he is?
No.
Well, there's people that have claimed to be him, and a lot of evidence that points to maybe one of these guys might have been, just not enough evidence to charge him.
You know how people are, and especially if they're already in prison, they're going to claim whatever they want.
Not one person that claimed to be him was in prison.
Really? Why would they do that? Knowing what they think that statute of limitations is gone from a robbery? Is there such thing?
Probably not now because it's DB Cooper. They'll find a way to charge him, but there's definitely statutes of limitations, right?
For robbery?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Why not? I was just reading up on an armored car heist, the Aguilla Blanca heist. Actually, we'll cover that in a couple weeks.
What, the one that just happened the other day?
No, clearly not.
They got away with how many millions the other day?
I don't know. Didn't hear about it.
What?
But these guys almost got away with it, but then for some reason, one of the guys that were involved testified like literally a week before the statute of limitations expired on it.
Oh, no.
And everybody went to, like, 5 people went to jail for life over it.
Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like in Boston or something about 2 weeks ago. Pulled the driver out. Got about, pretty sure it was like over $2 million.
Definitely no way they're not getting away with that.
I haven't heard nothing about it.
We'll see, won't we? DB Cooper. If you guys listen to this on YouTube right now, we're about 3 weeks ahead of our normal podcast, which obviously our normal releases. So you're listening to something way, way in the future that's going to be released then, which obviously we're doing it live. So that's a reason to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so you know when we're going live, know when we're dropping videos, so you're staying in the loop with us.
Just remember, don't interact with your future self because you will impact.
The butterfly effect?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's real.
I don't know. If time traveling is real, I'm sure.
Change. Well, I don't know. Stephen Hawking threw a party for time travelers back in the day, and nobody showed up. So,
supposedly, they probably didn't want to sit there with Stephen Hawking.
And how would they know it even happened if they were time travelers into the future?
Right.
They wouldn't know that he was throwing a party in present day. It's not like it would have been like national news or something in 2200 or something.
Right.
Oh, you remember when Stephen Hawking threw a party for us? When nobody showed up? And they're probably like, haha, fuck you. I just want to see. I mean, obviously, connection's probably pretty good. Oh, we got a lot of dropped frames now since I opened that. Close that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get on with it before we eventually get kicked off the internet here. So, DB Cooper.
Cooper DB.
A man walks into an airport the day before Thanksgiving, 1971.
That's a hell of a joke.
Carrying a briefcase and a secret.
Oh.
A few hours later, he has $200,000 in ransom money, 4 parachutes, and control of a commercial airliner. Then, somewhere over the dark forest of the Pacific Northwest, he jumps out of the back of the 727 Boeing and vanishes into the night. No body was ever found. No parachute, never found.
Well, didn't they say they found, like...
Almost none of the money ever turned up.
Didn't they say they found, like, shrapnel of the parachute?
No.
No?
No. Hence why it said no parachute was ever found.
Well, they lie.
More than 1,000 suspects have been investigated. The FBI spent 45 years chasing leads: military aircraft, submarines, helicopters, forensic scientists, treasure hunters, and armchair detectives have all tried to solve the mystery. They all ran into one same problem. Nobody knows who D.B. Cooper really was. Was he a military parachutist with carefully planned escape route? Was he an airline insider who knew secrets about the Boeing 2727 that few people outside the industry understood?
Possible.
Did he survive the jump and spend the rest of his life quietly watching the world search for him?
With $200,000? I doubt
Or
it.
did he die somewhere in the wilderness within minutes of leaving the airplane? More than 50 years later, the only thing everyone agrees on is that one man pulled off the most famous hijacking in American history, stepped into the darkness, and somehow became a legend in the process.
Look at that shit.
And that's the story of old D.B. Cooper. It's the man who got away.
But did he?
Got away.
24th of November, 1971, night before Thanksgiving. A man walked up to the Northwest Orient Airlines at the ticket counter at Portland International Airport. He paid cash for a one-way ticket to nowhere. The ticket was for a flight 305, a short 30-minute trip, Portland to Seattle, to go into the Tacoma International Airport. When he bought the ticket, he gave his name, Dan Cooper. People who saw him later described him as a white man, mid-40s, dark hair, brown eyes, dressed like a businessman, wearing dark suit, white shirt, thin black tie, a raincoat, and brown shoes. He carried a black case and a brown paper bag. Cooper, he boarded Flight 305, Boeing 727, 100 registered as 9467 U.S. He took seat
Don't know why it would be 9, but sure.
Right. He took seat 18E in the very last row of the aircraft and ordered a bourbon and a 7-Up. There were 36 passengers on board, along with a crew of 6. The flight consisted of Captain William A. Scott, First Officer William Radizak, they call him Bill, a flight engineer Harold Anderson, and the cabin crew included flight attendants Alice Hancock, Tina Mucklow, and Florence Schaffner. Flight 305 left Portland on schedule, 2:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Not long after takeoff, Cooper handed a note to the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner. She was sitting in the jump seat at the back of the airplane, directly behind him. At first, Schaffner assumed the note was nothing more than a lonely businessman trying to pass along his phone number.
Like probably hundreds and hundreds have done before.
She didn't even look at it. She slipped a note into her purse. And a few moments later, Cooper leaned toward her and quietly said, "Miss, you better look at that note. I have a bomb." Well, I guess she don't need to look at it then, right? Schaffner, she unfolded that very note and she read it, written neatly, all capital letters, with a felt-tip pen. It said, "Miss, I have a bomb in my briefcase, and I want you to sit by me." She handed the note back to D.B. Cooper, took the seat beside him, and quietly asked if she could see the bomb. Cooper opened his case and said, "There it is, baby." Inside, Schaffner saw what looked to be very much like a real explosive device. Large, cylindrical battery connected by wires, 2 rows of 4 red cylinders that she believed were sticks of dynamite. After giving her a look inside, Cooper closed the briefcase and began laying out his demands.
Well, she wrote everything down, carried the information to the cockpit, and informed the flight crew about what was happening. Captain William Scott instructed her to remain in the cockpit for the rest of the flight and keep notes on events as they unfolded. Scott then contacted Northwest Flight Operations in Minnesota and passed along the hijackers' demands.
"What's going on, Willie?"
Cooper, he said he wanted $200,000 delivered in a knapsack by 5 p.m. He also demanded 2 front parachutes and 2 back parachutes. The money, he says, has to be in negotiable American currency.
Oh.
The request for 4 parachutes immediately caught attention. By asking for two complete sets instead of 1, Cooper created the impression that he intended to take a hostage with him when he left the aircraft, which is smart.
Well, he had 4 parachutes.
That made it much less. Well, you got to back up and
Right.
you're going to use both of them. Maybe. Hopefully not. But
Right.
that made it much less likely authorities would risk giving him faulty equipment, too.
Uh-huh.
With Schaffner now staying in the cockpit, flight attendant Tina Mucklow, she took over as the go-between for Cooper and the flight crew. Cooper passed along more instructions through Mucklow. When the aircraft landed at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, he wanted fuel trucks waiting for the plane. He also ordered that all passengers remain in their seats while Mucklow brought the ransom money on board.
Oh.
Once he had the money, he said, the passengers, they can all go. After those items were brought onto the aircraft, Cooper insisted... the final items brought into the aircraft, Cooper insisted would be the 4 parachutes.
Right.
Captain William Scott immediately notified air traffic controllers at SeaTac Airport about the hijacking. SeaTac then contacted both the Seattle Police Department and the FBI. Meanwhile, the passengers had no idea it was really happening. They just told that their arrival in Seattle would be delayed because of minor mechanical problems.
I bet.
Donald Nyrup, who was president of the Northwest Airlines at the time, he authorized payment of the ransom and instructed company employees to fully cooperate with the hijacker and comply with his demands. He's not kidding around, damn.
Right. Roughly the next 2 hours, Flight 305 remained in holding pattern over Puget Sound. The delay gave the FBI and Seattle police enough time to gather $200,000 for that ransom. They located the parachutes and got emergency personnel into position. Back in the cabin, Cooper insisted that Tina Mucklow stay behind the entire time. Years later, Mucklow recalled that Cooper seemed surprisingly familiar with the area below. At one point, while looking out the window, he casually remarked, "Looks like Tacoma down there," as the aircraft passed over Tacoma. When Mucklow mentioned that the parachutes were being brought from McCord Air Force Base, Cooper immediately noted that McCord was about a 20-minute drive from SeaTac. Comment stood out because it suggested he knew the local geography quite well. Mucklow also remembered Cooper as being calm throughout the whole ordeal. He wasn't nervous, she said. He seemed rather nice. He wasn't cruel or nasty. As the aircraft continued circling over to Seattle, the two talked from time to time. Mucklow eventually asked why he chose Northwest Airlines. Cooper laughed and replied, "It's not because I have a grudge against your airline, no. It's because I have a grudge. That's it." He then explained that the flight simply happened to fit his needs.
The one that was going where I needed to go.
Right. The conversation drifted to more personal topics. Cooper asked Mucklow where she was from. She told him, "I'm from Pennsylvania, but I'm living in Minneapolis right now," she said. Cooper responded that Minnesota was a very nice country. Mucklow then asked where he was from. The question immediately changed his mood. Cooper became irritated and refused to answer. A little later, Cooper asked whether she smoked and offered her a smoke. Mucklow told him she had quit smoking, but she accepted a cigarette anyway. Yeah, you know.
Might be the time to take it up again.
Right. According to FBI records, Cooper, he did have at least one brief interaction with another passenger while on Flight 305. One passenger, George Labazinier, later told FBI agents that he used the restroom at the rear of the aircraft several times during the flight. After one of those trips, he said he found the aisle blocked by a passenger wearing a cowboy hat. The man was questioning Tina Mucklow about the mechanical problem that was supposedly delaying their arrival. Labaginier said that Cooper initially seemed amused by the exchange. After a while, though, he appeared irritated and told the man, "Get your ass back in your seat." According to Labaginier, the passenger ignored Cooper and kept questioning Mucklow. And Labaginier claimed he eventually stepped in and persuaded the man, "Just go back to your seat, bud."
Unfortunately for that guy, though, Mucklow remembered the incident just a little different. She said a passenger approached her and mentioned he was bored and wanted something to read. The two moved to an area directly behind Cooper and looked through some magazines. The passenger eventually picked up a copy of the New Yorker and just calmly headed back to his seat. When Mucklow returned to Cooper, he reportedly said, "If that is a sky marshal, I don't want any more of that." Ooh. Mucklow reassured him that there was no sky marshals on board the flight. Despite having what may have been the closest interaction of any passenger with Cooper during the hijacking, the man in the cowboy hat was never interviewed by the FBI and was never even identified.
Really?
He simply became another loose end in a case already filled with them.
I bet he was an air marshal.
While all this was happening in the air, authorities on the ground were scrambling to meet Cooper's demands. That old $200,000 ransom was assembled by Seattle First National Bank, delivered in a bag that weighed about 19 pounds. That weight came from the fact that the ransom consisted of exactly 10,000 unmarked $20 bills, just as Cooper had requested.
Okay.
Before the money was turned over, the FBI photographed the bills on microfilm. Most of the serial numbers began with the letter L, indicating the currency had been used by the Federal Reserve Bank of San Fran.
So they were marked.
Not marked.
Basically. They got the photographs of each bill.
Yeah, but not marked, where they'll immediately come ringing up if they go through the system. At the same time, though, Seattle police worked together to gather the parachutes. The two reserve parachutes came from a local skydiving school, while the two main ones were obtained from a local stunt pilot.
Oh.
But the lady said they were coming from Air Force Base.
Right.
By late afternoon, authorities had assembled everything Cooper demanded. The ransom, it was ready. The parachutes, they were ready. All attention was now focused on what would happen when Flight 305 finally touched down in Seattle.
Ooh-wee.
About 5:24 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Captain William Scott received word that the parachutes had arrived at the SeaTac Airport. He passed the information along to Cooper and told him they would be landing shortly. About 20 minutes later, 5:46, Flight 305 touchdown at SeaTac. With Cooper's approval, Scott taxied the Boeing 727 to a partially lit section of the runway well away from the main terminal. Cooper, he wanted the aircraft isolated from the rest of the airport activity.
Right.
He also laid out very specific instructions for the exchange. Only one airline representative was allowed to approach the aircraft with money and parachutes.
Right.
The only way on or off the plane would be through the front door only, using portable boarding stairs.
Right.
Northwest Airlines selected Seattle operations manager Al Lee to deliver the items. Go ahead, Al.
All right. Well, Lee, he took extra precaution before approaching the aircraft. He was concerned that Cooper might mistake his airline uniform for law enforcement, so he changed his civilian clothes. With the passengers still seated inside the cabin, a ground crew rode the boarding stairs into place at the front door. Following Cooper's instructions, Tina Mucklow exited the aircraft and collected the bag containing the ransom money. She then carried the bag on board and walked through the cabin past the waiting passengers all the way to Cooper in the last row. At this point, Cooper agreed to release the passengers. As the passengers began leaving the aircraft, Cooper opened the bag and inspected the money. During the exchange, Mucklow tried to lighten the mood with a joke. She asked Cooper if she could have some of the ransom money. To her surprise, he immediately agreed. Cooper handed her a packet of bills without hesitation.
Wow. He said, sure, here you go.
Just as quickly, Mucklow handed it right back. She explained that accepting tips was against company policy. According to Mucklow, this was not the first time Cooper had tried to give money away during the flight. Earlier in the hijacking, he attempted to tip her and the other two flight attendants using cash from his own pocket. All three women declined for the same reason.
That's bullshit. Fuck you, airline company, right. First of all.
Right. Even in the middle of a hijacking involving a bomb, a ransom, 4 parachutes, Northwest flight attendants stuck to company policy.
Good for them.
Once the passengers were safely off the aircraft, only Cooper and the 6 crew members still remained on board. Following his instructions, Tina Mucklow made 3 separate trips outside the aircraft to collect parachutes. Each time she carried them back to Cooper in the rear. While Mucklow was busy bringing the parachutes, Florence Schaffner asked Cooper if she could retrieve her purse, which was stored in a compartment behind his seat. Cooper said, go ahead, and even joked, saying that, I'm not going to bite. Short time later, flight attendant Alice Hancock heard her scream. He, in fact, did bite her. Short time later, flight attendant Alice Hancock asked if the flight attendants, can we leave the aircraft? Cooper, he said, whatever you girls would like. So with that, Hancock and Schaffner exited the plane. Well, that's cool.
Right.
Look at him.
Well, when old Mucklow delivered the 4th and final parachute, she also handed Cooper printed instructions explaining how to use them. Cooper took one look at him and said he didn't need them. At that point, another problem developed. Refueling the aircraft was taking longer than expected. One fuel truck was unable to finish the job, so a second one was brought in.
Yeah.
Then a third.
Oh.
This delay frustrated Cooper. During the wait, he complained that the ransom money had been delivered in a cloth bag instead of the knapsack he specifically requested. Now, he said he had to figure out his own way to carry it.
Uh-oh.
Right. Using a pocket knife, Cooper cut apart one of the reserve parachutes. He removed the canopy and used the empty parachute bag to hold some of the ransom money.
Okay.
Meanwhile, an FAA official requested permission to board the aircraft and meet with Cooper face-to-face, and Cooper said no.
No.
As this delay dragged on, he became increasingly impatient. This shouldn't take so long. Let's get the show on the road. Classic dad, baby.
Right.
This dude's got kids.
Yeah.
With the refueling finally nearing completion, Cooper turned his attention to what would happen after takeoff. He gave the cockpit crew detailed instructions for the next leg of the flight. He wanted the aircraft flown southeast toward Mexico City. He ordered the crew to maintain the slowest airspeed possible without stalling, which is about 100 knots or about 115 miles an hour. He also wanted the plane kept at no more than 10,000 feet, which is standard diving.
Right.
Cooper's instructions became even more specific. He ordered First Officer William Bill Redzick to leave the landing gear down, set the wing flaps at 15 degrees, and keep the cabin unpressurized. Well, Bill explained that flying in that configuration would dramatically reduce the aircraft's range. And in fact, the Boeing 727 would only be able to travel about 1,000 miles before needing more fuel.
Wow.
That meant reaching Mexico City nonstop impossible. After discussing several possibilities, Cooper and the flight crew agreed that Reno Tahoe International Airport in Nevada would be used as the next refueling stop.
Oh, wow.
Cooper then added one more unusual demand. He wanted the aircraft to take off with the rear exit door open and the built-in air stair already lowered. Northwest officials objected immediately, arguing it was unsafe.
Oh, who gives a fuck?
Cooper wasn't impressed. He said, it can be done. Do it.
Right. I can do it.
Eventually, though, he backed off slightly. Instead of requiring the stair to be lowered during takeoff, he said, all right, we'll get up there and I'll lower it myself when we're in the air.
Right.
Finally, Cooper informed the crew that Tina Mucklow would remain on board to assist them during the next phase of the operation. She's like, fuck.
Damn.
About 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 took off from Seattle once again.
Adios, amigos.
This time, only 5 people on board besides him. Flight attendant Tina Mucklow remained in the cabin with him. And then you got the captain, the first officer, and the flight engineer, Harold Anderson. They stayed in the cockpit.
Okay.
As the Boeing 727 headed south, military aircraft quietly moved in position behind it.
Oh, I bet it did.
2 F-106 fighter jets from McCord Air Force Base were assigned to follow the hijacked airliner. They were joined by a Lockheed T-33 trainer aircraft that had been diverted from an unrelated Air National Guard mission.
Oh.
Because that 727 was flying so slow, all 3 military aircraft flew a series of S-shaped patterns behind the head of the old zigzags.
They couldn't go that slow.
This allowed them to stay close enough just to monitor the flight while remaining out of Cooper's view.
Wow.
Not long after that takeoff, Cooper instructed Tina to lower the aircraft's aft air stair. Mucklow, she was terrified.
Wow. She told both Cooper and the flight crew that she was afraid that she could be sucked out of the aircraft if she went near the rear stairs. The crew tried to come up with a solution. Someone suggested that Mucklow come forward to the cockpit and retrieve an emergency rope. She could then tie herself to a seat before attempting to lower the stairs. Cooper, he said, hell no. He did not want Mucklow going to the cockpit at all. He did not want anyone from the
Why don't
cockpit
they just throw it out then?
coming back into the cabin. Right? Mucklow continued to tell Cooper she was frightened. Hoping to find another solution, she asked if she could cut some cord from one of the parachutes so she could make a safety line for herself. And this time, Cooper gave a different response. He told her he would lower the air stair himself. Then he gave her a final set of instructions. She was to go to the cockpit, close the curtain that separated the coach and the first class sections of the aircraft, and never come back. Mucklow, she did exactly that. For the very first time since the hijacking began, Cooper was now completely alone. Before Tina Mucklow left the cabin, she had one final request for Cooper. Give me a kiss. Knowing he claimed to have a bomb, she pled with him. Please, please take the bomb with you. Cooper calmly replied that he would either disarm it or take it with him. As Mucklow walked toward the cockpit, she turned back one last time to close the curtain separating the coach and the first class sections. In that very moment, she caught a final glimpse of D.B. Cooper. He was standing in the aisle, apparently tying the bag containing the ransom money around his waist. About 4 to 5 minutes passed between takeoff and Mucklow entering the cockpit. She never saw D.B. Cooper again.
Oh. Well, for the remainder of the flight to Reno, Mucklow stayed in the cockpit with the rest of the crew, making her the last known person to see him. About 8 p.m., a warning light illuminated in the cockpit. The light, it indicated that the aft air stair had been deployed. Captain William Scott and First Officer William Radizik used the aircraft's intercom to contact Cooper and asked if he needed any assistance. Cooper said, nope.
Nope.
Short time later, the crew noticed another sign that the rear exit had been opened. The sudden change in cabin pressure caused their ears to pop. Then, approximately 8:13 p.m., something happened. The tail of the aircraft suddenly pitched upward. The movement was abrupt enough that the pilots had to make control adjustments to bring the Boeing 727 back to level flight.
Wow.
Later, Radizik told FBI investigators that the incident occurred while the aircraft was flying near the northern suburbs of Portland.
Uh-huh.
The crew had no way of knowing exactly what had happened, though. With the rear door open and the air stair hanging below the aircraft, they could only guess whether Cooper was still on board. The flight continued south towards Reno. As the aircraft approached Nevada, Mucklow repeatedly used the intercom to contact Cooper. She informed him that they were nearing Reno and told him he would need to raise the air stair so the aircraft could land safely.
Good luck.
She called out to him more than once. There was no response. As the Flight 305 began its final approach, the silence continued. Nobody in the cockpit heard another word from D.B. Cooper. About 11:02 p.m., nearly 8 hours after the hijacking had begun, Flight 305 landed at Reno Tahoe International Airport with the air stair still deployed.
Oh, nice.
Authorities had no idea whether Cooper was alive, dead, armed, or still sitting somewhere inside the aircraft. FBI agents, Nevada state troopers, sheriff's deputies, and Reno police quickly surrounded the plane and established a secure perimeter. Because they still believed the bomb might be on board, and nobody rushed inside.
All right.
Eventually, Captain Scott entered the cabin and conducted a search. Cooper, he was gone.
Wow. 30-minute inspection. FBI bomb squad declared aircraft safe. Hijacker who had boarded the plane in Portland as Dan Cooper had vanished somewhere between Seattle and Reno, leaving behind one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American criminal history. Once investigators were certain Cooper was no longer on the aircraft, the massive manhunt began. FBI agents combed through the Boeing 727 and collected every piece of evidence that they could find. Among the items recovered, 66 latent fingerprints, Cooper's black clip-on tie, the tie clip attached to it, and 2 of the 4 parachutes that had been delivered to the aircraft. One of those parachutes had been open. 3 of its shroud lines had been cut. At the very same time, investigators spread out across Portland, Seattle, and Reno to interview witnesses and gather descriptions of the hijacker. Those interviews were used to create a series of composite sketches that could help some of the most recognizable images. That would become some of the most recognizable images in FBI history. Federal and local law enforcement agencies immediately began tracking down possible suspects. Meanwhile, something else happened that would shape the case forever. The hijacker had purchased his ticket under the name Dan Cooper. But in the rush to meet a newspaper deadline, reporter James Long of the Oregon Journal accidentally recorded the name as D.B. Cooper. The mistake was then repeated by the United Press International reporter Clyde Jabin. As other newspapers and radio stations and television outlets picked up the story, the error spread across the country. Look what happens.
It shows how quickly news can be wrong, and it just goes and runs with it. And this is in the 70s.
Before long, almost everyone knew the mysterious hijacker by a name he never used. D.B. Cooper. The nickname stuck and has remained attached to the case ever since. Wow. Where you at, Dan?
Where you at, Dan? Lieutenant Dan?
Lieutenant Dan.
All right, that's going to be enough of us here. And I don't know what's going on with this OBS, but it's messing up. Can't see stats or anything going on with this YouTube. I don't even know if the connection was good. Hopefully everything was going good. But yeah, we're going to end it until we can figure out what the hell's going on with this stuff. So with that, you guys already know what you, well, if you want to, I guess. If you want to, hit that bell so you know when we're live and dropping new videos, so you can join us and get in on the conversations with us and tell us what do you think DB Cooper's out there. Well, was out there. He's probably dead now, but or if he lived. So with that, we'll see you next time. Probably be live maybe tomorrow, the day after. So try to clean it up, get back to regular. Yeah, we'll shore it up. We'll try to shore it up. So with that, we'll see you then. Bye.
Click on the story, hear the chair squeak, bang and dang laugh, say wait till next week. The dust off names carved deep in the file, blood on the badge, grease on the dial. Whiskey on voices, maps on the wall, pins in the towns where the bullets would fall. Gangsters at breakfast, outlaws at dusk, silver on the table, iron and rust. Outlaws and gunslingers, bang and dang, draw the line. From the first crooked dollar to the last desperate crime. Every ride, every downfall, every backroom deal gone sour. Turn it up, let the ghost talk. It's bang and dang's outlaw hour.